Is there a technique that is better than flipping thoughts? That is what this video is about, because I personally believe yes, there is. But again, law of assumptions, your assumptions manifest, and whatever you assume for you to be right will be right for you. But if you watch this video, you will get another point of view maybe, or another tool, and maybe it is the right one for you. You could say flipping thoughts can be part of the mental diet. What is the mental diet? Just with a regular diet, when you want to avoid foods that are unhealthy and you do eat foods that are good for you, we want to learn to don't think thoughts or consume information, like news, etc. It could be as well, that harms us, and to consume information or think thoughts that are good for us. But sometimes, of course, a negative thought can come in. How do we deal with that? Well, there is different ways, okay? First of all, don't be scared of having negative thoughts, because sometimes they will come, and it's not the goal to never have negative thoughts again, because that is not very likely. I always tell my clients, it's like a navigation system. When it says go straight ahead and you accidentally turn to the left or the other way around, it does not mean that you will not ever get to your goal. We just want to get back on the right track as fast as possible. So if you occasionally have a negative thought, fine, just drop it. Just become aware, oops, that is not what I want to manifest, and go back to what you want. So flipping thoughts is that when, for example, you would think something like, oh my God, they're never going to call me. And then you realized, oh, I just manifested. They're never going to call me. That is not what I want to experience. You then go into the other direction. Of course they're calling me. They're calling me all the time. Or you can use the name. X is calling me all the time. That is if you want to have like constant contact with someone. If you want to have like one specific phone call, for example, you want to get the job, or you want to have the call to get some specific information, and that is like a one-time thing, then I personally would do it in past time. I am so glad that X already called and gave me the good news. But if you want to have something on a regular basis, then I would use present tense. I'm so glad that John is calling me all the time. John is calling me every day. I love it how John calls me all the time. That is what I would do, okay? So that is flipping thoughts. You have a negative thought, and then you immediately shift and you think what you want to have instead. But as I just said, is there a better way? And if you have those negative thoughts coming up once in a while, then just drop it, focus on something else, or flip that thought in that moment. But if it comes up on a regular basis, then it shows you that there is a deep-rooted program still active. There is an assumption active that pops up again and again and again to show you that it is still there. So it wants your attention. So what can you do then? You can either do the revision technique with that scenario, like, oh no, I am the one who's always called. Every man I liked or every woman I liked always called me, or I always get good news. Every time the phone rings, I always got good news, or I always get every job I ever wanted. Whatever the situation is, you can revise it in you always have been the person who got it. That self-concept. Or, as what I would like to do in that moment is, I do the Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono is a ancient Hawaiian technique that is basically 4 sentences originally. Actually, I think it was a longer prayer, but Dr. Yu Len limited it to those 4 basic phrases. And those phrases are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. What it is an inner conversation to, you could say, God, your higher self, that higher aspect of you. And you say, I'm sorry that I am now confronted or thinking something is, by what you think they're not calling, because that is your reality right now. So you are being confronted with something you don't like, right? And that is why you're thinking about it. So I'm sorry that I am confronted with this situation that I don't like, that there is something within myself that is manifesting that what I don't desire. Please forgive me that I was holding on to that assumption. Thank you. It's the release. I now accept that I am forgiven. I now accept that is healed. I love you, because love is the universal power. Then you can add another affirmation, and it does sound a little bit weird, that you can say either I forgives myself or I loves myself. And I know this is not right grammar, but I in that moment is not talking about what you say you are, like in my case, Janine. It is that higher part. It's the conscious, it's the I am that we are. This part of you, the I am of you, forgives yourself, loves yourself. So it is the I, as in your God, your inner God, your godness, your divinity. I forgives myself. I loves myself. That you can add. So when you do the Ho'oponopono, you repeat those phrases by being focused on what the problem is. What is the problem? In that case, I'm not getting called. So I'm sorry. I have that program that I'm not getting called. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you repeat that as long as you feel at ease with that situation. If that thought will pop up again, then you will do another session. But what we do here is not just flipping it like, okay, oh no, I'm not allowed to think about that. If you very occasionally think about that, then flipping thoughts may be enough. But if you think about that a lot, then we want to get rid of that program that is hindering your manifestation, because it's just an assumption that is working against that. You want to manifest them calling you, but your assumption about yourself, I'm the one who's never been called. I never get called. They never call me. So you forgive that assumption within you have, and by that you could say open the gate that your affirmation, they call me, I'm always called, can come through. I always tell my clients, sometimes we have to dig out the roots before we plant new seeds. That is also why it is important to observe your thoughts. If you just occasionally have a negative thought, just let it fly. It doesn't matter. If it happens a lot, there's a program. And Ho'oponopono or the revision technique, there will be 2 tools to then deal with that. Flipping thoughts can be helpful if you just do that once in a while, because sometimes our manifestation doesn't come because it is not the dominant belief yet. And I always tell my clients, imagine those old scales with like the weights on one side and your product on the other. And with flipping thoughts, you just put a tiny weight on here, because the longer you think about something, the bigger the weight is, and then the no side stays heavier. When you flip thoughts, you just take your attention away from that and put a bigger weight on there, and then eventually it can turn, and what you want to desire becomes the dominant assumption within you, because we always manifest what the dominant assumption is, not just random thoughts we have. But if you have a lot of negative stuff on here, if that is part of your self-concept, I am never called, then flipping thoughts may not be enough, because then it is like a long way until it turns. So with the revision technique or with Ho'oponopono, we're taking the negative weights off here, and with the mental diet, we make sure that we only put, if even tiny weights on here, and then of course it can quicker turn, and your new assumption, your desired assumption, will become the dominant thought. So what is Ho'oponopono or revision technique? Again, they're taking weights off. Flipping thoughts will just prevent of putting more on here. If you've been working on your manifestation for a while, that may be the case, that you have a stronger limited belief, and then I would tackle that with either Ho'oponopono or the revision technique. Or there's other techniques, like the EFT, MET, those tapping techniques, hypnosis sessions. There's other techniques, but those are just 2 tools that to me brought the fastest and quickest results. But I'm not saying that those are the only techniques. There are other ones out there as well. I hope this brought some clarity to you. If it did, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't done that yet, and leave your comments. And of course, you can check out my other videos. I do have a lot of self-concept meditations that can definitely help you to put more weight on this positive end, so that it will eventually turn and your manifestation will come. or if you need personal coaching, then you can reach out. I do see you in another video on personal coaching. Until then, I wish you all the best now. Bye bye.